Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at some really specific questions someone's asking about India and Pakistan.
That's right. We've got this source material, and it poses some pretty pointed queries.
Yeah, exactly. So our mission today is to explore what this source actually tells us, or maybe doesn't tell us, about these key things. Has an Indian Rafale been lost to Pakistan? What's happening with the ceasefire? Are there updates?
Right, the current status.
And also the human cost, the toll of loss and damage. So let's dive in.
Absolutely. These are critical questions, no doubt. The Rafale issue, for instance, given its importance, well, any question about its loss is significant.
It definitely catches your attention.
And the ceasefire, the human toll.
Yeah.
These are really the core indicators of the situation on the ground. But importantly, we're focusing only on what this specific source says.
Okay. So first up, this very direct question in the material. Has an Indian Rafale been lost to Pakistan? It's right there.
It is. And the directness is quite striking. It suggests this is a major point of concern or perhaps speculation for whoever generated the source.
But what else does it say about it?
Well, that's the thing. Nothing. It presents the question very starkly, but offers zero details. No evidence, no context, not even a hint about where this question came from.
So just the question itself, hanging there.
Exactly. Which makes it interesting. It flags it as a concern, but leaves it totally open. An unanswered question within this text.
Right, which, tells us something about what the user wants to know, even if the information isn't there.
Precisely. The fact that this question about a high-value military asset is being asked might suggest perhaps underlying tensions or maybe an information gap people are trying to fill.
But we can't really speculate beyond that based only on this source?
No, absolutely not. The source just doesn't give us anything more to work with on that specific point.
Okay. Then the focus kind of shifts, right? The source asks about ceasefire, India-Pakistan war, and what's the latest updates?
Yes, moving to the broader situation. This clearly shows a desire to understand what's happening right now, or, whenever the source was generated.
Is the ceasefire holding? Are there active hostilities? That seems to be the core of it.
Exactly. It points to a need for, real-time, concrete information.
That again, does the source provide those updates?
And again, no. Just like the Rafale question, it highlights this as a key area of interest, something someone urgently wants to know, but then offers no actual information.
So the desire for updates is clear, but the updates themselves are missing from this material.
That's the pattern we're seeing. It identifies the crucial questions, the state of peace, essentially, but leaves them unanswered. It highlights an information gap.
And that brings us to the final point raised in the source, the toll of human loss and physical damage.
And this is, of course, incredibly important, gets to the real-world consequences.
Absolutely. The human cost is always a central concern in any conflict or potential conflict situation.
It reflects that fundamental worry about the impact on ordinary people, on lives, on infrastructure.
Yet, just like the other points, the source just raises the issue. It asks about the toll.
But gives no specifics. No numbers, no descriptions of damage, nothing concrete at all about this potential toll. It just flags it as another area of concern.
So it seems like a consistent theme here.
Very consistent. The source points to critical areas: military security with the Rafale, the state of peace with the ceasefire, and the humanitarian impact. But in each case, it provides no data, no details, no answers to its own questions.
Okay. So wrapping up this deep dive then, we've looked at the source material and it clearly flags some really significant concerns regarding India and Pakistan.
That's right. The potential Rafale loss, the ceasefire status, the human and physical toll. These are clearly top of mind for whoever put this source material together.
But, and this is the key takeaway from our look at this source,
the source itself doesn't actually answer any of these crucial questions it raises.
Exactly. It poses the questions but offers no updates, no data, no confirmation or denial. Our deep dive really just highlights these questions as points of interest within this text, alongside a lack of corresponding information.
Our mission was to see what the source tells us, and in this case, it tells us more about the questions being asked than about the answers.
Right. So the main insight is the presence of these significant questions coupled with the absence of answers in this specific material, which leads us to a final thought for you, the listener.
Given these unanswered questions that are so clearly laid out in the source, what might be some reasons for this lack of specific information? And perhaps more practically, what other kinds of sources or avenues might you explore if you were trying to find clarity on these really vital issues?